We are live.
I am recording.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American
relate
Reef.
to its sheer perversity.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here come the candles to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Reef Factory Podcast. Nathan,
This is Conlon.
Hey, dude.
big show for you tonight. Lots of stuff to talk about. Jesus is Lord over Texas. Talk about that. I have the most restrictive abortion policy now of any first world or some third world countries. So they're really knocking it out of the park.
Well, they wanted to go for gold in that arena because they wanted to be the best, and I can't say that I agree with them. But, yeah.
They wanted to compete. They wanted to compete with the Taliban.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they want to see who can be more oppressive.
And even the Taliban were like, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is just this was the Republicans of Texas giving the Democrats ability to raise more money, because now we're going to start getting phone calls about protecting women's rights in Texas. We need to raise money and get out there and campaign so we can lose every seat in Texas. Because
Yeah. The amount of people I've seen voice their opinion of like, nope, I'm moving now. It's like, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of Democrat voices up in Texas. Everybody's serious about getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah,
Which,
it's too hot there.
and also too cold sometimes. It lose all their power.
It is a big state. You have multiple climates.
Yeah, but yeah, so I heard that was like, oh, okay, we're back to this medieval shit again. I don't understand what that issue is. I've never got that. It's like, if you don't want to have an abortion, there's no law saying you have to have an abortion. Not yet, but no, I don't understand what they're trying to do. But it's a strange place. Also, it's full of weirdness.
Well, yeah, there's certain things like where they're talking about Texas is like, yeah, it's a land of no freedoms unless you enjoy gun rights, and it's a land of freedoms.
I did see a weird map that actually, I think it's New Mexico has more like percentage of gun owners than Texas. I was like really surprised by that.
Yeah. It
was like 60% of people in New Mexico have a gun, and it's only like 30% in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know why people. There seems to be this disconnect between, we don't want government tyranny, which I get, okay, but they want religious tyranny. It's like, well, wait a minute. At least in government, you get a vote. I mean, supposedly it might not be effective all the time, but you do get to vote. Like, you want just religious tyranny? Or is this done for religiosity or just to thumb their nose at people? I don't get what's behind this. Does anyone know? I mean, I assume it's religious shit, but
it's just religious right wing shit. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's like how you build your base. So you pretend you're religious. Like that's how the Republicans have duped their way into power for the past 50 years. It's like, we're the religious group.
Yeah.
And then they tell them whatever they want to hear, and then they don't do anything. So this is the one thing they did do, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing something now, but I don't.
But usually they just dupe them into the votes and then just like give all the money to
rich people.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a real counterintuitive thing right now to do. It's like, no, we need to have less people, a lot less people.
Well, I mean, technically, will and all, because I was just watching something on just like prices of houses in like a fucking small town in Colorado where it used to be in the 90s, it was $60,000 for that house, like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, and now it's like $1.8 million or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody can afford to work there that actually like is not a CEO or something like that because it's all second homes and a bunch of other shit. So like all the workers there like live in their cars or in tents because they made camping legal there last month because they needed a place for all their workers to live. And so it was like, yeah, this is a good long term solution for prosperity of the lower population that actually has children and works in the service industry and shit.
Well, that's the thing is like most people that seek abortions out at like a state level or don't do any like birth control or planning, aren't they all poor pretty much? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if for some reason I got someone pregnant and wanted to have an abortion and I lived in Texas, like kind of at my income level, couldn't I just go to another state and I don't understand. Like this seems to victimize the very people that don't need to be having a bunch of children.
Well, that was like one of the uncomfortable chapters from Freakonomics. It's like, oh, crime went down because of abortion, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah. No one wants to talk about like, oh yeah, in the 80s there was this huge crime wave and people doing a bunch of drugs and homelessness. And now there's not a bunch of homelessness now, but that's tied to wealth inequality and affordable living. But at the same time, yeah, a lot of that stuff went away because people didn't have to have kids that didn't want them and shit. And it's like, yeah, that's great. Now we're just going to go back to that again. Yeah. And then they're going to blame it on moral corrosion from Democrat leaders or something like that. It's like all these youth ethics from the left wing are making our cities crappy again. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. Democrats will fuck you over as much as Republicans will, but I don't know.
Well, it just seems like now it's like we're on the cusp of hyperinflation, and it's like pretty soon it's gonna be like the Weimar during the Depression where they're paying you hourly because the bread can go up $100 an hour. I mean the whole thing's just ruined, and it's like, yeah, let's force people to have kids. Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't care. I mean, I think it's just death and mayhem is what a lot of those people want anyway.
Yeah, it seems like it. Which is troubling in itself.
No, it's just hopelessness, just nihilism. Just like all the right wing stuff about, oh look, the Taliban are really cleaning up the town over there. It's like, are you fucking serious? You saying that out loud? Or are you just trying to? Is this just a goof?
They're only the ones building back better, Nathan. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Fucking Jesus! Almost anybody can build back better than mud huts and nothing besides dirt roads. Has nothing to do with their moral belief system. Isn't Afghanistan supposed to go through like a huge economic collapse now? Because basically now that all the American money left and all the foreign money left, they have no foreign interest. That's why China their new best friend.
You're presuming Afghanistan is a country and has an economy.
Well, I mean, it had a little bit of an economy, but because there was people over there in marketing and shit like that, and it's like, what are you marketing in Afghanistan? Like,
something that's not called opium but is opium.
Sounds like it to me. At the same time,
smile powder.
Smile powder.
Well, the big economic backers now are Russia and China and Iran, so we'll see where that gets them.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, what I've always figured about Afghanistan, it's just like somebody like, here's the border, and then you're Afghanistan, and all the people there are like, okay.
My life is going to be much better now.
Just you wait.
Yeah. So, who knows? Just that Texas thing seemed like a real weird, like, oh, this is totally self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's made to appeal to people that will not be affected by it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they take away all the family planning options there, then that's going to get really weird. That's if you can't, because here you can get like, the morning after pill. It's like a dispensing machine. You just put money in and the pills fall out. Like, here you go.
Yeah, they're gonna like double down on like state-sponsored free condoms or something, or is that also like no?
I mean, that's the thing. It kind of goes hand in hand with no abortion, no sex education, teaching the abstinence, which doesn't work at all. Which is always a fun way of saying like, "Hey, look, we don't give a shit about you." I mean, I think I discussed on the show before, like Colorado has been experimenting with that and like giving teens free UTI, like contraceptives and stuff like that, where basically they just fucking put it in the device or whatever, and it's for every dollar they invested, they got $5 back, and not investing in food stamps and welfare checks and shit. And it's like, yeah, that seems to be a good fucking course of action.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But I don't.
Instead, we're going back to God says, "Don't put thy dick in there." Not until you put a metal receptacle on a finger.
What can us three white men say about this? That hasn't already been said.
I know. It's not
I
really
can't
hard.
remember. I can't remember the quote from BoJack Horseman. It's like they're talking something. They had a panel of guests. It's like, now we're talking about abortion. So like these conservative white men are going to give their opinions.
Yeah.
And they cut to the panel. And
I mean, I can't say that we have any right to have an opinion on this, since it's concerning women's reproductive right issues.
Well, I have right to talk about it because I'm a taxpayer.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to pay for all this stuff. And plus, it's the ruin of your civilization if you just fill it with a bunch of people that have no future, that have no opportunities, and you're going to do nothing for. It's not like, well, we're going to outlaw abortion, but the state's going to raise all these kids. I mean, Texas, they might make them into child soldiers. I mean, who knows? Yeah, it's when it comes to this stuff, it's like, I'm not paying for this fucking free for all, especially if it's based on a bunch of religiosity.
well, yeah. Well, also like all these people are scared about how like the birth rate keeps going down. So like this might be some weird counteract to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, overall, I think it's supposed to balance out anyway in the next 40 or 50 years with birth rate and population. But at the same time, I mean, it's like we're facing a crisis now. I mean,
What should like the blatantly racist thing to say to them to get them to do the opposite is like, oh, like I didn't know you wanted to have more Hispanics and blacks in Texas.
Yeah,
yeah.
you can approach it that way.
I mean, I guess that's probably the best way to approach it, actually, and unfortunately.
But see, the way
I mean,
the
it's
law-
awful, but like those people, are like, oh god.
But the way the laws are structured, they're just going to make. I mean, the places where most poor minorities live, they've been fighting a low-level civil war for 30 years anyway. It's like, yeah, let them have all they want. They're all going to die before they're 10. I mean, it's so cynical, so you can appease God. It's like, they had a hurricane in Louisiana, and then apparently it messed up some things along the East Coast too. It's like saying, well, we need to pray to Poseidon now so he stops the hurricanes. And it's like, all this stuff is nonsense. Nothing changes. It gets worse, or it's a different kind of bad.
I mean, I can't say there's anything good going on in the country right now because all of the people at the shop I go to, like, since most of them are military veterans that I hang out with, they're all like, Biden's such a piece of shit. He fucked up Afghanistan bad. And he's this horrible fucking president. And it's like, every president's fucked up Afghanistan. You can't tell me that there's one person that's done a good job with it. And they're like, well, he let all the Taliban back in. It's like, well, Trump let 5,000 prisoners free for nothing. That's like, you're going to tell me that was a good idea? And they're like, that hasn't had nothing to do with it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I love all these well-rounded conversations you're going to have from people that are informed. It's like, well, the guy on Fox News said, yeah, I know what he said.
And getting to tell the dipshit at work that loves QAnon, apparently, that fucking Joe Rogan is his hero who had fucking COVID. That was fucking great. Because I was trying to tell him, it's like, yeah, he just started taking Z-Packs and vitamin drips and fucking ivermectin at the same time, and also this shit, all the stuff that's not meant to fight any of the stuff he's fucking going through, and he's taking it. And it's like,
Well, yeah, I think a Z-Pack is like an antibacterial, so like it's not.
Yeah,
even,
it's an
it doesn't
antibiotic,
doesn't fight a virus, but all that stuff is basically like what Nathan talks about. Like when you take malaria pills, like what malaria pills do is like make your body very hard, or make it inhospitable to everything, including yourself. Because that was the same thing with hydrochloroquine. It's like, no, it didn't cure COVID, but it did make it hard to take root in your body because your body was destroying itself.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you expose yourself to a lot of radiation, like, you won't get sick. from like external things, and I mean, until all your white blood cells die, then you'll get sick from everything. But for that brief window, it's like you're immune.
If that's what you're going for, then yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a molecular biologist or a doctor. I can't debate the merits of one thing over another. But I know there's a shot that I can get for free. I don't have to like worry about, and it's designed to stop coronavirus. So it's like I don't know why I need to take deworming medicine unless I have COVID and intestinal parasites. Then perhaps we can combine these things. And it's like I'm cured of both COVID and intestinal parasites, but I don't know what the deal is, and it's all weird to me. I'll just take the thing that they say is like, this is good. And
you think that would be
talk
the
about
easiest
side effects, but it's like, well, there's side effects from eating tacos. I mean, every time you put something into your body, you're rolling the dice. Like, you don't know what might be in there, but 99% sure you're not going to die immediately from it. So.
Joe Rogan's like, I'm not getting that shot. I don't know about that. It's like, would you like this LSD laced marijuana? Like, yes, please.
Can I have some shaman in South America blow powder up my nose that sends me to the spirit world? Yeah, I want to see what that's all about. It's like, okay. But this thing that's made in a lab by like 1,000 of the smartest people in the world, no, fuck that. They're trying to control us. I've had people tell me it makes you sterile. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, man. It'll make you sterile. It's like, I had a vasectomy like 12 years ago. What the fuck do I care?
Yeah, well, that was like, that has no basis. Like, I guess somebody like misquoted something from a podcast and that got out there that's like, it might make you sterile, but it doesn't.
No, it's all stupid. I
mean, yeah, there's a lot of because the HR lady went around yesterday like making sure to like it's like, hey, do you have your shots? I was like, yeah, and like the weird, like as she was walking around, I heard a lot of weird conversations going. I was like, you got the COVID vaccine? Like, aren't you worried about the side effects? Like, don't get your fucking medical advice from TikTok, you moron.
I was reading something where no new side effects pop up from any vaccine after 2 months, because after that point, if you've been inoculated enough, and people, are going to have what they have. There's no new side effects after that. This vaccine's stable. You're not.
Yeah, there's not like there's not a surprise effect that happens years down the line. Although getting COVID seems to. We'll do that apparently.
That opens up some surprising doors sometimes. None of them good. Not like you can fly, Yeah,
because there's like people like they get COVID and then like they get through it. It's like, all right, I'm good. And then like 6 months later, it's like, ooh, I can't walk down the stairs and I'm an athlete.
Yeah, usually not a good thing, unfortunately.
Or the people that never get their sense of smell back. That doesn't sound good. But all these people that have this have like never had the shot, so they got full-blown COVID. I mean, you can still get COVID if you got the shot, but
yeah, you can. Yeah, if you got the shot, you can get they have what they call a breakthrough infection or whatever, and then, but it's still like it lessens it considerably. Like I don't know. Well, there's probably been somebody has had the vaccine and died from COVID, but it's probably other circumstances that are comorbidities.
Yeah, fourth stage lung cancer or something too. It's like, see, it killed him. It's like, no, I think the cancer weakened him. But yeah, oh yeah, I've had those things you're talking about, Conlon, where they come around and talk to you, and it's like, well, what'd you say? It's like, why are you so fucking concerned?
Well, I had a picture. I had a picture of my
supporting your family either. So if I die, well, fuck it.
I had a picture of my card because I don't carry it with me because it's just too fragile, and I sweat too much. It's like it's gonna destroy that. So I have it in a plastic badge thing, and I took a picture of it. And so she was okay with that. And apparently they're gonna give me like an extra $150 in the next paycheck because I got the shot. So it's like I got a shot for free, and I get $150.
Yeah. Yeah, they're well, like I said, we're back to full masks at work, so, and we have been for a week.
Yeah, we have been for like a month or so.
I don't know if we're going to do that because my new president was very vocal about like, hey guys, nobody likes wearing this shit, right? And it's like, yeah, I know. I mean, the company itself has been somewhat better about putting, shit in place that help people, but not really that much. So I don't know if we're going to go back to that because everybody seems to be fed up with masks for some reason.
I mean, everybody was always fed up with masks, but we was like, okay, this seems like a pretty easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. But
I mean, wearing a mask is easier than recycling.
it is. Oh, shit.
Well, see,
Fucking morons.
I proceeded from a really false assumption at work because for the 3 weeks we didn't have to wear them, like when work said, you don't have to wear these, I was like, okay, I won't wear it because I had my shots. And I thought, so did everyone at work. Well, then come to find out, it's like, oh, no, it's like maybe a third of the people. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We've got 8 or 9 people die here from this shit. And none of us are in good shape. You know, yeah, the young people are, but yeah, the guys like me that are heading into 50, like, yeah, we're not the one. Talk about comorbidities. We're just a parade of comorbidities. And, I'm just fat. But what about the fucking drug addicts and alcoholics and everyone else that I know? And it's like, yeah, most of these people didn't get their shot. That's why they went back to masks because they started making like little inquiries about who. It's like, oh, well, we're just going back to masks because no one's getting a fucking shot because it's not mandatory. Not yet.
Yeah.
They've talked about that, but that becomes a legal thing here.
Yeah, your union's gonna be pissed apparently.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't care, whatever. I do not mind wearing masks when it's cold, but when it's hot in the summer, it's miserable. But when it's cold, it's like, oh, this is just extra thing to keep my face warm.
Yeah, you were going to wear a mask anyways when it's cold.
Yeah, because when you're on the docks or something and the cement's got just like crystal sparkles of ice, it's like, yeah, we're covering up because it's fucking cold back here. And they put nice heaters in and they last a year and break. Like that costs $50,000. It's like you need to hire a lawyer then because it should last more than a year.
Yeah, but they're Ford. They got enough money. They can fucking do whatever they want.
But speaking of COVID safety, I went to the big house today and saw my first U of M football game with my son. 109,000 people were there.
How many can fit in that place?
117,000.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, pretty close capacity.
Yeah. But,
Who they play?
I got my shots. So, because when I bought those tickets in January, because believe me, it's the only way I could afford them was to buy them early. We all thought this was going away, and we talked about it. And I was like, look, he's almost going to be 20 years old next summer. He's a sophomore in college. I'm not going to be his dad forever. So we're going to go do some things like that. Whatever. Try to wear our masks and be safe, but yeah.
I believe they played Western Michigan University.
Yeah, Western Michigan, which is one of the sister those schools, because there's Western Michigan, Central Michigan, and then Eastern Michigan, where my son goes. Those used to be in the same. Those were all like the teachers' colleges for all over the state. So they don't play in the same. They're not a Big Ten school. They're like, what do they call that? MCIC or something. Grayson knows what kind of division they play in.
I thought it was all Division 1 and A or 2A or whatever. Yeah, I forget how they used to go.
There's a name for it. They're not a Big Ten school, but they.
Yeah.
Well, it was a rough game too. I think it was was it 40-12 or something? Or no, let me look it up. I was there. Let's see. Final score.
47-14.
Yeah, because they did manage to score a second time. But it was cool. I mean, it was amazing to see that. I've never been to the big house before, and because I took a bus in, but because of transportation snafus, it was like I could take a bus out, but I'd be waiting 2.5 hours because the buses, those city buses, they can only put like. Standing and sitting, I think they can only fit like 43 people on them. And if you have people in wheelchairs and a bunch of elderly people, well, they all need to sit. And so then you're standing room only. And by the time you load the wheelchairs in, it's like, oh, it's 45 minutes to load this bus. And they had 2 of them running. So I said, well, Grayson, what's
two buses for 100,000 people.
Okay, Grayson, what's option B? It's like, well, we can walk 3.5 miles. Like, we're walking because I'm not standing here for 2 hours. I can walk, I can cover 3 miles roughly the same amount of time. But yeah, so we walked all the way back to where we parked, and a bunch of other people did too. We weren't the only ones. But it's the first game they've played with a crowd in 2 years. So
yeah, I guess.
So this is the first game back in like 600 days, they said, or something like that. It's like, oh, okay.
Did you get any souvenirs or some cool stadium food?
No, because the people in front of us went to get hot dogs, and because our tickets came with like stadium comp passes for food and stuff, they were gone 45 minutes. Like, I'm here to watch a game. I'm not. This isn't college football games are not. They're not like pro games where they just stretch on forever. You've got some media timeouts and stuff, but really that's not that long. It was pleasant. It was only 78.
Are you guys fed any commentary, or did you like bring your own, or is you just watching the game?
Watching the game.
Okay.
They'll let you bring cell phones in, but women, you can't bring purses. Nothing that won't fit in your pockets. So you can't bring shit in. You can bring binoculars, but you can't bring them in a case. You have to throw the case away. I mean, it's because of terrorist shit.
Yeah.
Creepy stuff.
But also alcohol.
Well, they sell alcohol. All right.
No, I'm just saying. You can't get alcohol in. That's why.
Hey, I know those, but I know those binoculars that are actually flasks.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's dumb.
I forgot about that. I don't know why. Probably because I'm not an alcoholic. That's probably why I didn't remember.
We had kind of like field level seats in one of the end zones, so it was sort of cool because we were close enough and down low enough. Like when they got to one end of the field, it was really far away. But when they got close, I mean, you could hear the guys yelling and slamming into each other, and you could hear the helmets slapping and stuff. So it was really cool. It's a massive place. It's weird to be in that place, especially when you're at the bottom of the bowl like that. You just start looking around. It's like, man, I hope the structural engineers know what they're talking about.
Is that one where it's like kind of like carved into the ground, like it's just a big hole, or is it just a standing stadium?
It's a freestanding stadium.
Okay.
And when they built it in 1932, they built it with expansion in mind. Because they did a big reno on it in 2014 where they added like 10,000 more people could come in. So it got even higher and higher. But
I might be thinking of the Penn State one, because Penn State also has like an absurdly huge stadium. But I think it's like they just like dug a hole and just put up seating.
I could see that. Yeah. Have you ever been to Pittsburgh when you're approaching the city? It's like, oh, that's carved out of the side of a mountain. Obviously not, it's not some flat land like it is here. So, yeah, I can see that. It's the third largest stadium in the world. I think there's one in North Korea where they do like weird.
Oh, yeah.
Flags. Like that's the biggest one in the world. And there's another one that's a little bigger. But they've had the biggest hockey game, most attended hockey game in history there, the most attended soccer game in history there, because they hosted the World Cup playoffs. They hosted two of the teams in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and like it was 110,000 people showed up. They don't have soccer stadiums that big anywhere, so because they could just redress the field for whatever they want it to be. They could have monster truck rallies there if they wanted to. The hockey was neat because they had to freeze everything and put all that equipment in. But
that's the other thing I was going to ask, because University of Michigan has a hockey team, so I didn't know where they played at.
Right there. Well, I mean, I'm not sure where their college team would play regularly. Maybe it is there. I'm not sure. Because I know the Chrysler Arena is right next to the big house. And that's their basketball team, which is like division champions over and over and over. Yeah, it's a big place. It's amazing to see. You feel like you're in the Coliseum. Like, wow, these people could be killing each other with swords, and it would be very reminiscent of Rome. One way in, one way out, though. That was kind of weird. You enter in the gate, and my seat number was row 12, seat 23, and Grayson was right next to me, seat 24. Thankfully, we had an end seat. But we looked down at the ground, and it's row 75. So you got to walk all the way down to 12. That was a hike. And then they have those tall stairs. And of course, I now have bifocal glasses, so I had to take those off because, like, why does my foot seem to go down weird? Oh, because it's weirdly magnified, and I'm not judging the space right. So Grayson was like, Dad, are you okay? I said, hold on, let me take these. Yes, now I'm okay. You were walking like a drunk. I said, I know, I felt like a drunk. I was like, oh, is this it? Is this where I die? But my eyes weren't fading from something happening.
Who does Sanford call out to when he's pretending to have a heart attack?
Oh yeah, who is it?
It's like, oh, Ethel or something. I'm coming, or Maria or something. I can't remember.
It sounds like that, yeah.
Maria, I'm coming for you.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. I could actually take my son to a Big Ten football game, and I didn't have to pay $400 a ticket, so that was nice. Actually paid $73 a piece for these, so that's not bad. But like the ticket prices slide around wildly because you could start doing advanced buying, because once they opened it up and said, okay, it's open, you can start buying tickets. I was like, ooh, Ohio State, Michigan, what's that? Cheapest seats in the house, $600. It's like, oh
Jesus Christ,
we're not doing that.
Nosebleeds. Just say you were there.
I was there.
I don't get the reason for fucking spending that much goddamn money on anything, regardless of what it is. Pro football, fucking collegiate sports.
I mean, for a one-time event, like I mean, I was almost considering spending that much for the all-out tickets, because like I knew it was going to be a moment. It's like, okay, but then ultimately it's like, I don't want to give money to scalpers.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because like as soon as I looked at like scalping prices for those tickets, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
oh, they set like a record, like the aftermarket tickets for All Out is the highest aftermarket tickets in wrestling history.
I don't know if that's a good record.
Looking at, because if you buy them months in advance, you're buying them straight from U of M, like the ticket sales office.
Yeah.
Those aren't even the scalp prices. That's just the face value of those tickets, because they know the demand. I mean, the security they have to pay to have there, especially for Ohio State. There's like, that's like rush the field type anger. So yeah, everything costs more on that day.
I just never understood all, like, because how much that college must make on like every fucking game, especially if it's sold out or whatever. It's like, and they claim they lose money on shit or whatever. It's like, no, you can basically fund just about anything on those ticket sales and merchandise and food and all that shit.
U of M is like, that's also the most expensive Big Ten school to go to.
Yeah.
Like it is preposterously, like Barack Obama's kids are going there, like and a bunch of actresses and actors, like all their kids are going there because I don't know, it's horribly expensive. It costs more to go there for 2 years than what my kid's going to pay in like 4.
Which is fucking sad for anybody, to be honest. I mean, it shouldn't be that much fucking money to go to any college. I mean, regardless of how prestigious it is.
But I don't know, like I was listening to Dave Meltzer, and he was talking about live event tickets and how like it's like people just keep paying it. It's sort of like there was a bunch of stories popping up. Is like, did you know you didn't have to pay for baggages before 9/11? And like everyone's like, what? And now it's just like it's just expected. So now it's like, well, we're not gonna stop doing that.
Yeah, that's someone had a good humorous meme. It's like, well, now that we're out of Afghanistan, can we end like TSA screening and all this other nonsense, because the war on terror is over and terror won? So do we still have to keep doing this? Can we get rid of the Department of Homeland Security because we don't need it anymore? But of course, that's all facetious. You can never get rid of that stuff.
No, you can't. I mean,
but boomers really fucked up the whole live event stuff, because like they're willing to pay thousands of dollars to go see the Eagles suck ass in a stadium. Actually, no, they're probably good. I don't know, but it's a lot of that. A lot of people touring. It's like, oh, what's the most successful tour this year? It's like the Eagles. And like, the fuck? It's like, okay, yeah, young people can't afford to go see the artists they like, so but the old people can.
Oh yeah, old people have always been able to.
And that's another thing too. Like one of the reasons, like U of M, like anything attached to that. Number one, it's all trademarked, and it's all big cash flow. But the alumni association's absolutely insane. I mean, some of the richest people in the world are U of M alumni people. I mean, it's not as high as Harvard because they have like Bill Gates and shit, but it's very high. And yeah, they don't care. They're like, well, we don't want these dirty peasants here for the important stuff. So yeah, we'll just make everything cost a fucking
Dirty peasants.
Because people used to bitch is like, well, that's state funded, and then they opened up the books and looked into it. And it's like there's very little state funding going into that anymore. It just makes so much money on its own. And also they have like relationships with patents, and there's all kinds. There's a whole article that explains like how those, once you get to that level, it's like, yeah, you're just your own autonomous entity. That, like Michigan would have to pay the rights to you to use the name Michigan if you're a state because the university has better lawyers if they wanted to. But that's where all the money goes. So they just finished building a $91 million addition to my kid's school. It's like, what? Because I know where that's going.
Oh yeah, like when I started going to Iowa, and if I go back there, there's like 6 more skyscrapers they built downtown. It's all U of I money.
Yeah.
But also they're the number 1 employer in the state too, which is
yeah, that's another thing. That's your biggest regional employer here is U of M, and you go up north and it's Michigan State and everywhere else, and like half the kids you find out that graduate from these, like, because Grayson's talked to people that are going through different things at school, and it's like, what'd you do after school? Oh, I got a job at the school. It's like, okay, this sounds like a snake eating its own tail. Okay.
How useful is your degree? Can you take it anywhere? No.
Well, they guarantee job placement after graduation, or they have to give you your money back. So what they do is they give you a job at school. Now, what my son's studying, he's not gonna. It's a marketable job. He's not studying like theater arts and medieval Latin. Because he wanted to study history really, really bad, and we had this big talk for several weeks. I was like, find out what a history major makes. Just do the research. I'm not gonna try to color your opinion here. Well, he's like, well, you wouldn't be telling me that if it wasn't bad. I said, well, just do the research. And he came back like, again, switching majors. There we go. There's nothing wrong with loving history and being into it. There's a guy I know named Dan Carlin. I don't know him personally, but I listen to his podcast. Like, he's done okay doing that. But he's also has a background in broadcasting and everything else. So.
And he's also one person out of thousands of people with that degree.
Yeah, and it's like, ask your history professor. That's the guy who got a job teaching history. You.
You coming for my job? Fuck you.
But yeah, a lot of schools around here, like, they have that guarantee. Like, yeah, we'll guarantee job placements. Like, yeah, at the university. Take off your cap and gown, they give you a faculty ID. And I don't know if that's bad, but that's like, is that sustainable?
Probably not.
Yeah. It's nice to give the people that study odd things jobs, but I think if you're going to do the kind of work that takes to get a degree, it's like you should make money. You should make more than your pops does loading trains on a dock. Okay, it's like I want him to do better than me, money wise, and he will, hopefully. But anatomy's it's really kicking his ass. He's doing it right now in anatomy. It's like an online thing, but you have to have like a graphics card thing in your computer, which he does because we got him that great computer. But it like shows you how everything works and it highlights it. It's like, identify this, and this. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? You building one of those Westworld robots in here? Because I made a joke today. We were like, where you want to go eat? You want to go get steak, pizza, barbecue? He's like, yeah, I've never been to a barbecue pit. What's that like? I said, a lot of connective tissue cooked at low temperatures. He's like, ooh, you just made it gross. I said, I know what you're studying. See, think about it.
Yeah. Son, if you want to learn anatomy, just watch this movie called Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah. I sat through that movie. Man, that was brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good movie, but yeah, it's horrifying.
It's a granular analysis of cannibalism. Hip bones connected to the thigh bones.
The dick bones connected to the ball bone.
thigh bone becomes a knife handle. And now you're cutting somebody's head off.
Take out the throat plug and use the whistle.
The old throat plug.
I have a pretty quick F1 update about the Belgium Grand Prix.
Okay.
So yeah, we the race starts behind the safety car. We go into the first turn. Max Verstappen gets a look on the inside, but he can't pass the safety car because it's a safety car. They do 2 laps and they call it a day because the course was rained out.
Yeah, because I saw his tweet about how they should do better for the fans that pay that much money to go out there and see a real race.
Oh yeah, that's.
When's the last time they called one for that?
They say I believe in '91 the last race of the year was held in Adelaide, Australia, and I think they got like 30 laps in or something before they called it for being too dangerous. And this time they pretty much just should have called it. They did the 2 laps because of the weird rules in F1 where it's like, well, we have to follow these rules because we wrote them down. Like that, nobody called an audible or anything like that. It's like they didn't want to just cancel the race. I don't know. So there's some conspiracy stuff where it's like, oh, they did the 2 laps to say it's complete a race, so then they wouldn't have to. The fans couldn't get a refund on their stuff or whatever. But also like
to be true, did it?
No, but like there's some. I don't see the thing about it. It's like that refunding the fans isn't up to the F1 because remember, Spa the track paid F1 to be there. F1 is not responsible for the tickets. The track is.
Oh, okay. So they have that kind of business relationship.
Yeah. And F1 has in their contract that they get paid no matter what. So they're getting paid. So that money's not going back to the fans. And I don't know, like the amount of people that are there and the amount of money they spend on those tickets, because F1 tickets are ridiculous, even for bad stuff. And there's lots of people there. This is a huge track. This is the biggest track in F1. But like, I don't like tracks are kind of not really doing great right now. And potentially if like they had to refund all those fans, there's potentially it could bankrupt that track.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Because they're spending $80 million to do a refurb on it, and they have to do a lot of terraforming. I think that's right. Or excavating. What's the right word? I don't know.
Terraforming, if they were trying to change it into a habitable place.
Yeah, that's right. I got it wrong.
So that's going to be expensive.
Because like one of the reasons they canceled this race, because like if they would have just said, all right, we're racing, all those fucking drivers would have tried to race. And somebody would have died.
They were willing.
That's why you can't leave it. You can't leave that decision for the drivers, because like they all of it. Like when they're interviewed afterwards, like, oh yeah, that would have been terrible, but I still would have done it if they said you're racing. Yeah. But like especially like with that Eau Rouge corner, and like how little traction they had, like. And like how it's blind you can't see at the top, and how fast that corner is. Like you were just, and there's already wrecks there that weekend and this whole year. Like you were that was just a recipe for someone dying that day. Yeah. So
yeah, it's not worth racking up a fatality. Yeah, they got to work out that deal because you can't fuck your fans, or maybe the fans accept that. I don't know.
Yeah. But. I don't know, the crazy thing is, because it was raining during qualifying too, is that fucking George Russell for a moment got pole position, but then Max Verstappen just took it away from him, but he still came in second, which is fucking crazy, and like one of the worst cars in F1. But like that Williams car, like if it's raining, like it can hold its own with the other cars, because that's rain is the great equalizer in F1. And so yeah, they called the race after 2 laps. Everybody gets half points, so that's really going to trigger everyone's OCD, because now people have like a half a point on their thing. It's like, can you just round that up? Make it
0.5. No, not 0.5.
But yeah, also like it's another double points for Williams because Latifi also came in like 8th place. It's crazy, and like those points, even though it's half points, like that's a lot for Williams. They're probably secured that 8th spot, and that's going to give them like millions of dollars extra. So, and then he had crazy stuff like where they're doing a formation lap, and Sergio Perez crashed his car. They picked up with a crane, they bring it back, and they're like, because the race was delayed, there's like, Red Bull's like, hey, can we just fix the car and put him on the grid or he'll start in the pit lane? And they're like, no. And then eventually they're like, all right, go ahead and do that. And so he was going to start in like 6th, and then he ends up starting in 20th. But then because they don't actually have a race, it's just they stay behind the safety car. Nobody can pass each other. He ends up being in 20th place and no points. So he's like the only
that car back together.
Yeah.
To finish dead last, just one step away from DNF.
Yeah. Although it was technically classified, which I don't necessarily understand. It has some purpose, but like, yeah, if you finish so many laps, you're technically classified as like a race driver in a race. It's weird, but it I don't know. It does something like when stuff gets weird. It's like, well, were you classified for the race? Well, all right. Well, then you win the championship for some. Like that's why it's important. It's like when things get really granular, and like it's.
Is there some law school that you go to in Europe just to like F1 law, where it's like you just make this as complex and bizarre as possible?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. One time we should probably just sit down because like the FIA rule book is just out there. Like they publish it to the public, and you can just look at it, and it's full of a lot of weird crap.
Yeah, that would probably actually be fun to go through. Great stuff I found.
But a lot of it's still interpretive, so that's why people get mad. It's like they're following the rule book, but then they aren't following the rule book, but they are following the rule book.
It's like contract, but we have level 1 arbitration, level 2 arbitration. It's like, wait a minute, what? It just says they just broke the rules. Why are we going to arbitration? Well, there's rules and then there's rules, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest races of all time. So, but it was, yeah, and also like I like the one of the Red Bull like engineers gets on the radio to Michael Massey, who is the director of F1. He's like, "Are we gonna have a podium celebration?" He's like, "Of course."
Get those big bottles of champagne. Get them ready.
So yeah, this is technically George Russell's first podium. Which if they would have raced and had it been a dry race, he might have not even got in the top 10, but he got a podium. So
shower me in glory.
So this week we have some news because now they're in the Dutch GP, so it's Max Verstappen's home race. They're at Zandvoort. Which is an interesting track. It's kind of old school where it's like narrow and not a lot of runoff areas. So like if you make a mistake, you're crashing. But also has bank turns. So that's kind of fun. It has bank turns and it has like anti-bank turns where it's like, how like a bank turn where like you go, the bank helps you. Yeah. But like it helps you with your downforce. So like it keeps you on the track. Yeah. And then you have like the reverse of it where like you're going against it. And so like you have way less downforce than you think you have because you're like falling off the track.
Oh, okay. So slow down.
I forget what they call it. I think they call it like anti-bank or something like that because it's like instead of like rolling it on the hill, it's like you're taking a turn, but you're on the hill and you're falling away from it. So
yeah.
So yeah, it looks pretty neat. They had qualification. Max Verstappen got pole, and so the crowd went crazy. Yeah, they have there's so many rabid Max Verstappen fans there, and like his whole fan army are covered in orange, and they have like orange like smoke flares that they just release randomly all the time. So the place is gonna be crazy tomorrow. What was oh yeah, Kimi Raikkonen, he's retiring, so this is going to be his last year in F1. And then he announces that retirement, and he gets COVID, so he's out of the race this week.
Oh,
So Robert Kubica gets to take his spot. And oh yeah, Giovinazzi got a 7th place finish just out of nowhere.
Huh.
So that's good for him. He's probably not coming back with the team next year, because the rumor is right now you got Bottas taking Raikkonen's seat at Alfa Romeo, and maybe they get rid of Giovinazzi, and then Alex Albon is going to go to Alfa Romeo. And then Williams or George Russell's going to go to Mercedes, and then Nick DeVries, who you don't know, he's from F2 and other series, he's going to take that other Williams seat. That's the rumor right now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's the F1 update.
All right. Well, at this point, we should probably hang up and call back.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. How much time do we have left?
3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Just in time. All right, I'll call you guys back.
All right.
And we're back.
And we're back. Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting.
I don't think they had a choice.
No.
No.
Want more of this excellence? Gonna have to wait until the cookies are baked.
Hey, I'm fine with waiting. I mean, the best things in life sometimes you have to wait for. Come on.
So we watched. You want to talk about the movie now?
Yeah.
Watched a movie this week. The American Friend, which was let's see. Hold on. Why are we locked up? Okay, The American Friend, a 1997 neo-noir film by Wim Wenders.
97 or 79?
It's 77.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 97.
I might have.
Okay.
Kind of out of it. But yeah, 1977.
Okay.
Adopted from the 1974, very loosely adopted from the 1974 novel Ripley's Game by Patricia Highsmith.
which is that Ripley is, you know, the talented Mr. Ripley?
Yep, it's the same
Okay.
series.
That's what it is.
I guess I didn't know that was a series. Okay.
Yeah, well, they did a Ripley's Game movie with, oh god,
Malkovich.
yeah, John Malkovich, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and then they did one with Matt Damon.
yeah, the talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah,
And Jude Law is not the only person that's in it. I can't.
Oh, I forget the lady that's in it. It's like, oh, crap.
Paltrow, maybe.
Yeah, I think Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah.
this movie though stars Dennis Hopper, Bruno Gans.
Dennis Hopper as Tom Ripley.
Yes,
But like, what was it, the Ripley novels? Those take place in like the 50s or something.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas this is the current day that it was made. It was current day, so.
Yeah, and it doesn't go anything. You really don't know much about Ripley's past. Where in the books, he's like this guy who murdered someone and took his identity, and he travels through the world of art and crime, and he's a sociopath who just kills people and sets people up. But in this movie, he's just kind of a weird guy.
Yeah.
Running art scams, but and
He is
seems
the- he is-
amenable to things
He
like
is the
murder.
he's the titular American friend.
Yeah, he is the American.
Yeah, I picked this because I believe it said it's like shot in West Germany or East Germany. Wait, no, West Germany.
West Germany. Yeah.
I was like, okay, that'll be interesting. Although it's like in Germany, Paris, and America, so it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Because there's like, don't they go to New York? Because there's like weird part where like Tom Ripley's like walking on this like roadway, and then you see the Twin Towers in the background. I was like,
Yep.
that's a cool shot. Like, where the hell is this at?
This movie's full of cool shots.
Yeah, I really like the cinematography, even though I'd say it's like kind of understated, but like some stuff just like when there's like the weird like when they're shooting at like dusk and you see like the weird green lights at like the dock platforms and stuff, like the lights like really pop out. And apparently like I forget what they did, but like the cinematographer did something really specific, and when they kept getting the negatives back, like somebody was like overcorrecting their films, like, no, I'm shooting it this way. So
Yeah, this is a movie. This is like a really unconventional movie in a lot of ways because it just kind of lets scenes go and then they kind of mash together.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, just a little something. I found myself rewinding a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? What's going on? Okay, now we're here. Now we're there. Now we're here. And it's really not a movie with it has a story and it sort of has a through line, but I see this more as a movie about people relating to each other in horrible and interesting ways.
Well, sometimes I feel like budget was a concern for this movie. So it's like
Yeah,
if there's a lot of weird things that aren't fully connected, I think it's because like, well, we didn't have time to shoot that. And apparently they had a real gun on set because a fake one was too expensive.
Yeah, I could see that.
Makes sense.
It cost 3 million Deutschmarks to make this movie in 1977, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Equivalently. Because this is a movie where everyone speaks in their native language.
Yeah.
That's also a thing. Sometimes
Well, I think that's like why you have, because it like at least the version I watched like all the opening titles are in German.
yeah.
Like it's like Die Amerikaner Freund, like that's the title that comes up and all that stuff. And then like like half the movie's in German, but then like when Dennis Hopper's around, like they speak English. So it's I feel like they're obviously trying to sell this more internationally. It's like, see, it's not completely a foreign film. We speak English sometimes.
Well, that's something that Wim Wenders does in a lot of his movies.
Okay, I
People
don't think I've seen any of his other movies. Like,
yeah.
What other movies what are your experiences with his movies?
Which ones that you can watch and find? The End of Violence with Bill Pullman, which really is kind of just an American movie, but a more international movie would be like Until the End of the World, where all the French people argue with each other in French, but when John Hurt shows up, everyone speaks English. And then when they're in Australia, like people. It's a lot of subtitles and until the end of the world, and it's a cool movie, but it's a very boring movie for a lot of people. I enjoy it, but so I was like, oh, I'm going to see this, and it's like, yep, this is one of his movies.
Okay.
It has all the hallmarks of. Well, a lot of his movies have extended scenes. Like if you notice, like when Zimmerman, who's the Bruno Gans character, and his son are like, they're just walking down the street in France, and they just like, we're just going to walk down the street. We're just going to film that whole thing. There's no other dialogue. There's a car driving by, but everything looks cool too. It's like the buildings are different, and so there's some great shots in this. But they do a lot of those long shots in this.
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. You kind of have to build your own narrative. So.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing you didn't like it, Andrew.
No, I thought it was fine.
Okay, good. Okay, you seem to not.
No,
You seem to like
I'm
not.
not like a huge fan of noir films. I get really tired of the detective and other shit. So like I haven't been a huge fan of a lot of stuff I've been watching because it all kind of seems to blend together. I mean, plus some stuff that doesn't hold up over time, like Chinatown's racist bullshit that I fucking hated the whole time. I mean, it's a good movie. I like Dennis Hopper in it. Like he's really good. I like all the characters in it. They're not bad.
Okay.
It's just
Well, also like you don't.
fucking,
Well, also you seem to not really like older movies in general. At least, I mean, I don't like the Cotton Comes to Harlem. That was like what, late 60s?
I just don't like the way some things look shitty. Like how I was going to talk about Superman and Lois Lane. That just looks shitty because of time. Like it looks shitty because the production values changed, and obviously they didn't do the best job at the time anyway. But at the same time, like there's always something wrong with even modern day productions. But yeah, I guess I don't appreciate older movies as much as I probably should. That's definitely a thing. But otherwise, like, I don't have a real problem with this movie or anything. Like, I liked it for what it was. Like, it wasn't anything that I'm going to watch again ever, but it's not anything bad.
Well, I like some of these movies we've been doing recently because, like, it's a movie I never even knew of. And then I watch it. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I see why they put it in a list here, but, like, it doesn't necessarily, like... It's like, I'm not necessarily like, oh, I'm glad I watched that. I was like, okay, well, now I watched this movie that I'd never heard of. So, like, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't necessarily like it either. Or, I'm not going to watch it again. But, like, I don't know, I'm old now, so I almost never watch a movie a second time. It's like, all right, I'm good, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, unless you really connect with it. Like, I have a huge tower of, like, DVDs and Blu-rays, and yeah, I can't... There's some movies I watch again because I like something of it, or I like the story or whatever. Like, this one had a really good story, and I thought it was something I don't see a lot anymore. You don't see a lot of people tricked into killing people because they have leukemia stories. I mean,
most of, I guess the premise of the movie is because Ripley's like with this world, he's selling counterfeit art, but he's also like in bed with like mobsters and mafia, and then like he's like, it's like, we need this guy, we need to kill this guy. We have several people that we need to kill, and he's like, and he finds out this one guy who's a frame builder. That's his job. It's like, how the hell do you make money off of that? And he's like, he finds out he's dying. It's like, well, why don't we just get that guy to assassinate people? It's like, what a weird setup for a movie.
Get that, though. What his idea was because that guy wouldn't shake his hand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Ripley's a sociopath. Hey, I mean, he's just like any little thing. It's like, yeah, I'll ruin this guy's life because he'd shake my hand. You know, that's how those people operate. It's not as pronounced with the Dennis Hopper portrayal because later they almost become like weird friends.
Yeah. We're killing people together.
Yeah. But Dennis Hopper doesn't have to do that. He just decides, it's like, I'm going to help this guy out on the train. Because as I got to know him more, it's like, oh, I like this guy, but he's in the middle of this mess I've created with Minot having to kill these people. And I do like how violence is portrayed in this movie because it's very
awkwardly.
It's really haphazard. It's like when he shoots the guy in the metro on the escalator, like the guy just falls over, and then the body's kind of like stuck at the end, and he does the exact opposite of what Minot says. He panics and runs. He just shot a guy in the back, and he fell down on a thing, and he's just laying there on a conveyor. It's weird. And what's weird is that fall happens earlier in the movie to an unrelated thing. They're not someone who was shot. It's just somebody who fell on an escalator, and then they replay it again. But this time the guy's been shot, and it's like, yeah. And the violence on the train is awkward. because he's not, they don't even give him a gun that time. He's supposed to strangle someone to death with a garrote. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, grow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's an.
I've heard Garrett. I've heard Garrett and garrote. It's either way, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's European, so we'll say garrote. But yeah, I do like the way violence happens in this movie. And then when they're waiting at the mansion and he like pulls the guy's leg down, he just falls and his neck is broken. But it's not like a big deal. It's like, his neck's broken. Pick him up, and the guy's like choking, and he's saying something about Jesus, and these two guys are looking around like, okay, this is awkward. I love that. I love that about this movie. Like, all violence and killing is very awkward and strange and sad, which it's a realistic depiction, I think. It's not like chopping someone's head off with a sword, and it's all.
And they're not professionals.
No, they're not. They're just crazy guys.
I had
crazy guys.
I mean, I had similar things in Killing of a Chinese Bookie, but this is more pronounced. Like, this is like kind of half of the movie. That's just kind of one scene.
Yeah, in this movie, they like with everything in this movie, the scene just runs. It runs on. We're gonna keep. How long are we gonna show that guy like thunk, thunk, and on the escalator? Like a long time. We're gonna show that. The guy.
Like when he's running away, they frame the scene as like in the security footage or the panning from Canada. It's like, well, he's gonna get caught, right? But he's in Paris and he lives in Germany, so maybe he won't.
Yeah, I don't know how it works there, but
they're in Hamburg, right? When they're in Germany,
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I was like almost like weird to see when they're in Hamburg and they're walking across buildings. There's just like all this graffiti all over the place. It's like, wouldn't expect that out of West Germany, but I guess I actually don't know what to expect out of West Germany. So.
Yeah, every place has their ghettos and violent places, not just America.
Yeah.
And then, as this movie builds toward, and now Zimmerman is dying of leukemia, but of course, in this offer that Minot makes to him to be an assassin, it's like, I can pay you enough money to set your family up after you die. He also offers him free medical examinations, which he in turn fakes the results of to be like, no, you're going to die very soon, when actually, supposedly, he would have had a lot of time. Or more time. Not a lot, but more time than what they portrayed, because they wanted him to kill more and more people.
Yeah.
And
he never would have put two and two together. He just would have killed for years until he finally died. It's like, the killing's keeping me alive. That's what it is.
Well, and then we come to Minot's apartment gets bombed because the mob's figuring out like who's doing this and why, and we don't know if it's because Ripley tipped the mob off, or it's a lot of things like that in the story, or just not. It's like we just scene to scene to scene. And Zimmerman is trying to convince his wife that, no, I'm getting all this money from doing experimental treatments, but she's like, no, you're lying. I know when you're lying. You're my husband.
Oh yeah, quick aside. What the hell was that kid playing with that was just like a bunch of like blocks of wood that spun? And
oh, that's one of those old, what do they used to call those? There's a name for those. It's not calliope, but yeah, it's like it shows images.
No, not that one. There's that too, but there's one where like the kid has this weird thing where he's like cranking it and it's a piece of wood and there's like two things and it looks like there's a string attached to like a toy horse or something, but the horse never moves. The kid's just cranking this thing. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I know those. Yeah, I know which one. Okay, I remember which one you're talking about. His brother doesn't tell him he's a dumbass. Then it was on the other. So I guess that kid's like not smart, doesn't know how to play with the toys. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because remember, he was doing the kaleidoscope thing wrong too.
Yeah, he was like looking in from up top rather than on the side where the slits make the animation work or whatever.
His brother's like, "Nine Doomkopf." Like, oh, okay. Maybe he's a Doomkopf, or however you say it.
Yeah. Doomkopf. No, that's Scheitskopf. Doomkopf is like dumb head or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And Es tut mir leid, that's a common phrase, which basically means like I'm sick. Which I believe is like Es tut mir leid means like it hurts me so. Because S means it essentially. Toot is like pain. Mir means me, and I forget what lied means, but yeah, essentially that's like, oh, I don't feel well, but it means like it hurts me so. Es tut mir leid.
Yeah.
And Krankenhaus, that's what you call hospitals, Krankenhaus,
No,
which I think means like broken house or something. I forget.
probably.
What's the other one? I forget. A nurse in German has a really cool name. It's like Nichtschwester or something like that, which means like night sister.
That can go a lot of different ways. Transferred to English.
Yeah.
Because English it always seems a lot more like French. Like a lot of things are the same.
Yeah.
Like we have like names for things instead of alliterative terms. It's just like, it means what it means. Because like hospital and in France you say l'hôpital. It's basically looks the same. It's like you would know what that word meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you
And
write
like
that down?
Library and like bibliothèque. It's like, well, you'd have to know that, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's like, oh, bibliothèque, that's a library. It's got to be a library.
Or it's a discotheque.
That's a dance hall.
I know, I was just joking.
Lighted hall or something. I forget
Yeah.
what disco means in French.
I forget. There's one like an apothecary is like a sort of like a pharmacy, but I forget.
Yeah.
It's like in German you say like apotheotech or something like that, and that's how I remember it's a pharmacy. Is like, oh, it sounds like apothecary.
And in English, it's you go see the chemist. That's the pharmacist. Here we're pharmacists, and in England they're chemists. Same language. Anyway, back to the American friend,
The American friend.
which gets progressively weirder as it goes along.
Yeah, though the ending of this movie is very weird and sort of surreal.
Yeah, it becomes like it becomes like it goes from neo noir to like something like new wave almost. Like what? That's an ambivalent ending, but it kind of works, I guess, with the theme of the whole movie. Because Ripley and Zimmerman are hiding out at his mansion, and he gives Zimmerman a piece of pipe while he's got a pistol, and it's like, you're going to be down here, and I'm going to be on the roof, and I'm going to be thinking about you. I'm going to be, I don't know if that's Dennis Hopperisms like working their way into the performance or not. I don't know how much dialogue he was given, or if he was just given a general direction.
Yeah, well, yeah, I hear that they're basically writing the movie as they went, so a lot of things are improvised.
And you can tell.
Yeah. Also, like some fun trivia is like Bruno Gans and Dennis Hopper got in a fight like within like the first week of filming, and then after getting drunk and fought each other, they were like, "All right, we're cool." That's just what you did. But also, like Dennis Hopper was coming off of Apocalypse Now to do this movie, so he was all fucked up from that too.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Weird performance in that. Last 15 minutes of that movie. But yeah. So it basically they kill the assassins. They kill one of the guys trying to break into the house, and they find the ambulance across the street. And they see Zimmerman, or not Zimmerman. They see Minot and some woman, and then a guy in the back, and then there's a guy in the front who has a pistol. And he comes out, and they see Ripley and Zimmerman in the rearview mirror. Or I think they see Zimmerman actually, and the guy comes out and he's chasing him with a pistol. And then again, more weird violence as Ripley like punches him with the pistol because he's hiding in the bushes in this long stone stairway. And that guy falls down the stairs like for 30 minutes. And it's like, okay, he's dead. Because they go up to the body, and it's like, are they going to beat him with the death with the pipe? No, they're just going to steal his really long, cartoonishly long pistol that he had. And they go back to the ambulance and fight with the guy in the back of the ambulance. And then, let's see, what else happens? Oh, they drive the weird ambulance in a Volkswagen, like all somewhere to France or wherever they're going to the coast, and he just lights the ambulance on fire.
Yeah, they're on the beach. He's in a ambulance that kind of looks like the Ecto One,
but it's a Mercedes.
Yeah, and then Zimmerman and his wife are in a red VW Bug, and they're just like following each other on the beach, and then of course he gets out and lights the ambulance on fire.
And there's
Why
a
wouldn't you?
big explosion, and he goes like this, like yes, like it's Burning Man or something on the beach.
And then Zimmerman's like, all right, I'm gonna get away from Ripley, and then like they drives off, but like Ripley's chasing behind. There's like this weird shot through the window of the car where he's almost like a cartoonish like horror villain. Where it's like, no.
And then as he's driving, he's like, he looks to his wife and he's like, Marianne, it's getting dark, and he just like dies. Like Zimmerman just dies driving this Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Goes up over this hill, and you think, oh, it's going in the water, and she pulls the emergency brake, and it spins around, and the headlight falls off, which is like, oh, that's kind of fun. You know, they didn't plan on that. But it's like, and then after that, and you know, he's dead in the car, and the wife closes his eyes, and it goes back to Ripley on the beach, like hanging out underneath the ruined, boardwalk, and he's like, "We made it anyway, Jonathan, but you got to be careful." You know, it's just, and then it just credits like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because
most singularly.
well, Ripley does this thing like early on in the movie where he's like recording himself talking, and then he listens to himself talking because that's how crazy he is. He's just narcissistic. Where it's like, yeah, I really like the sound of my own voice, and he's like quoting. What was he quoting? Crap, I can't remember.
Nietzsche or something.
I can't remember what he's saying.
Yeah, because
Or he was saying like there's nothing to fear but fear itself and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So he's doing Kennedy speeches.
Yeah. Or was that Kennedy or was that Roosevelt?
Roosevelt, yeah, Roosevelt.
Yeah. What a weird movie.
Yeah, kind of an oddball movie that was weirdly engaging. I mean, I watched it twice, so.
Oh, really? Huh?
Well, I wanted to see, like, this is one of those movies where you're supposed to get stuff out of it, and I'm not a professional movie critic. I'm just kind of an idiot on some things, so sometimes I'll really watch something and be like, okay, what can I pull out of this instead of watching a YouTube video about what somebody else pulled out of it? Because they've already done that work. I don't need to do it again. So this is what I get out of it. And,
well, I saw some extra features. I don't know if you watched it like with I don't know if there's a commentary one or not, but there's supposedly like there's like 30 minutes of cut footage that they had on there.
Scenes, which are just, a lot of them are, one of them's a long dialogue scene that would really add nothing to the movie, and then there's a lot of those extended panning shots of like the skylines of cities, which are cool, but added nothing to the movie. So like everything they cut, it's like, I know why they cut this. Fun to watch, but I can see why they cut this. And then there's some of them that had a weird color saturation to them. I don't know if that's why they cut them or that's just how the film got put in as a deleted scene.
Yeah, I like the weird red bed that Ripley had. It's like Jesus Christ, that's a red bed.
I always thought, is that a nod to Kubrick or is that just what they had on the set? You know, it's
yeah,
like a very Kubrick looking scene, like this weird bed in the white room. Kind of grungy white room with this bright red bed. It's like, yeah, that's where a psycho puts his head to. But yeah, check it out on the Criterion collection. If you want an uplifting movie with a happy ending,
fuck you.
Well, I guess it was as happy as everyone got what they got, you know, in the end.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Bruno was going to die, and he got to die.
Ripley got to have fun killing people.
Got to have fun being Ripley. Exactly, impersonating someone else, or I don't know. That wasn't really made clear in this movie.
Zimmerman's wife got money. Presumably, I actually don't know if he ever got paid.
Yeah, I was always kind of one that's like, oh, are they just going to...
Well, I thought there was something weird where like they didn't pay him for the first hit because they wanted him to do a second hit, and so I thought they're just going to keep stringing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought they were just going to keep stringing along until he just died, and then they didn't pay him at all. I thought that was going to be the whole like ruse.
I do like kind of the DIY French medicine, which that's really what it's like. I've heard it's like your doctor is just some guy who has an office in some building. You know, they'll take the test, but they'll take the blood or whatever, but it's your job to get it to the lab. I mean, in this movie, they send it to the lab, but in France, a lot of times, like, they'll do the test on you and give you the kit, and they're like, okay, take it to the lab. And that's because they cut costs that way. You don't have to see a doctor in France, so you can see a doctor and like it's nobody's business. You know, just you and the doctor, and the state just pays it. But you got to do your take your pap smear results and all that stuff in, which might be kind of weird to some people, but it's like, hey, I'm not paying for this, so I'll just get on the metro and ride it on over and hope I don't fall on the escalator. So, yep. Andrew, you wanted to talk about the Lois Lane and Superman?
Oh yeah. Okay. So just as an example, I'll use the episode I watched tonight because it's fresh in my memory and I can go over it the best. But I'll tell you some highlights of what I thought was some of the best commentary we made watching the shit show. So I don't know who the hell, like, they obviously must not have shot this, and obviously in the order it was aired in, because a lot of the shit doesn't make any sense. The police costumes changed 5 times in 11 episodes, so there's like no cohesive police uniform or cop car. Like, there's one where it's like a fucking Humvee, the next one's a yellow checker cab with like police things on it, and like, I don't know how that went with like set dressing and all this shit, but that seemed really uncohesive, and like a lot of people lost their jobs all the time over that shit. Special effects wise, it is pretty fucking rough for most of the things between explosions or just gunfights and stuff like that, but it's kind of what to expect from like a 1994 TV show. I mean, there's not a lot of good things to say about that aspect of it. The writing is pretty shit as far as like just making any sense whatsoever, because like in the first episode they talk about, oh, we gotta save the space station. There's a microgravity lab on board where they can break down diseases, and this is the only way to, save humanity or whatever. And I look up what a microgravity lab is, and it's like, I'm under the assumption when they said that it just tests what little gravity has or low gravity has on regular physics and objects. And it was like, yep, that's exactly what it is, but they made it up to be a virus lab. Because like they're sending up a blind kid to like be cured of blindness or whatever, and it's like, well, good luck, blind kid. You're definitely not going to get cured anytime soon.
Give him the gravity virus.
And there's a bunch of little things like that where they do really bad jobs, like naming things or just doing low efforts. So this episode number 12, where Superman stops a meteorite from hitting Earth that's 14 miles wide. They're like, oh, it's the biggest that's bigger meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs. I'm like, I thought that one was like the size of Texas. That's more than 14 miles wide or whatever. And I look it up. It's like, yeah, it was the size of a fucking state. That's more than 14 miles wide. So they always seem to like go that extra mile to like make up bullshit about the stakes he's facing, which is annoying as shit. But the episode starts off with like a solar eclipse going on. So supposedly like nobody can see anything. And then it cuts to a Mustang revving up and almost running into them, so he stops it in broad daylight, even though it's a solar eclipse going on. And then he waits like 2 seconds, and then Lois looks that way, so he throws himself into a pile of trash. And so the driver sees him stop it in his full, business attire, and then stands there for like 2 seconds and throws himself into shit. And then later on, he supposedly gets amnesia from stopping the meteorite. And it's like all this shit they're giving him. They give him like a 6-minute thing or a 6-hour thing of oxygen. It's like this tiny little fucking tube next to a surgical mask, and like all this other shit. They give him like a little earpiece so he can talk to people while he's doing the meteorite, because he's like 5 miles away from Earth or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna work that fucking far, but okay. And just like so yeah, he gets amnesia when he comes back from blowing it up mostly, and like him going through amnesia and shit, and just like his editor and Jimmy, the photographer, like go to like this place they call Suicide Alley. It's where the homeless hang out. I was like, what a cute term for homeless reside. Suicide Alley. You'd rather shoot yourself in the head than stay here. Suicide. And so I'm just talking to my wife and being like, they should really go hit up the prostitution alley and then also the drug alley and then go to the hobo fight alley before they go home. Then hit that again 2 or 3 times tomorrow to make sure they find it before the meteorite hits Earth. Because the whole time, like, everybody's supposed to be dying because the meteorite's still coming and it's still big enough to wipe out the Earth or whatever. And so
now the whole Earth is a bowling alley.
but nobody's freaking the fuck out. Nobody, like, everybody's going to work, everybody's acting normal. It's like, yeah, that's not happening. The whole world's gonna die and no one's here to save them. And they're just acting like, yep, everything's going on, it's okay. It's nothing, no rioting, no fucking horrible shit's going on. And that's just the fucking crux of that fucking show. Like, it's already overbilled. It's really fucking shitty in every department, including acting. And just, like, probably the best fucking line I came up with so far is there's a fucking episode where they put cybernetics or metal arms into boxers so they could fight Superman and beat him, because that's Lex Luthor's plan. Because, like, every episode he has some other fucking scheme that doesn't work. And so Superman, like, finally, like, is about ready to go fight them because he's found out their master plan. And so this guy's parading around because he's the best boxer in the world and shit. And he's like, "Where's Superman? I'm going to fucking kick his ass." And then I was like, "He's washing his dick so you can suck it." And that was the best fucking line I've come up with so far, because some of this shit where it's like a fucking government agent that only believes in aliens trying to kill us all. So he's like, he doesn't believe Clark Kent that he's Superman, but he has his parents hostage, you're going to kill him. And I was like, you're an 8, Clark Kent, and Superman's a 10. Like, I don't know what the fuck else to explain to you. Like, I don't know. It's just the fucking show itself is horribly flawed, and I don't know why it was so popular in the 90s, because even then it was shit. And I don't know why it only had 4 seasons. I've been meaning to look that up and see if it's just because the ratings were so horrible they finally canceled it, or it was just production costs, or what it was.
I just remember it being charming at the time. I don't remember it being good.
No, I think that's what carried the show mostly, is that it was non-threatening and it was something.
I mean, it's not called, like, it's not, Superman's not up front. The show is called Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's true. It's not really called. It's not something else. It's not a story about, like, the Justice League and Superman, but mostly about Lois Lane.
But, like, Superman is in the subtitle. It's not in the title of the show.
That's true. And when you get up to the point where they can stop the whole Clark versus Superman bullshit, because, like, that's getting really old, and it's only 12 episodes into a 21 episode season where every episode's in, 40 whatever minutes long.
But that's also around time, early 90s. You have, Batman was 89, and you had Batman Returns, like, I think it was like 91 or something like that, and then you got Batman the animated series. So, like, there was it's like, oh, like, superhero movies are successful now, so it's probably just like an attempt to, like, well, can we do it in a TV capacity, a live television show? Because this is also around the time they had the Flash TV show that they attempted, which I don't even think might have got a season, I think. I might have even not made it out of the pilot, but that was like Mark Hamill was like it's called like Jester or something like that. It was basically a Joker-esque character in the Flash universe.
Yeah, I think as soon as he mentioned that, I was like, yeah, I remember that. But I don't know if it lasted more than a season. If not,
no, I'm not sure if it got out of the pilot, but I know it aired. I know that.
Well, I think that show probably had more things to bring to the world than fucking Lois and Clark did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it's easier to make it look good when you're not trying to, like, superimpose fly and, like, blow up shit with your, because, like, the amount of times he has to take his glasses down all the time, do the stupidest shit. Where it's like he takes his glasses down, he zooms his eyes across the room to focus on the carnage on the coffee table, or he takes his glasses down to heat his cereal or whatever in the fucking bowl, and it's like, wouldn't he burn a hole through the table? Like, at what point does, like, any of this stuff make any sense? Because, like, he just has to lower his glasses all the time to do anything. And it's like, yeah.
But with how Dean Cain is now, it's just it's good to hate on him because he's a fucking dipshit.
Oh, I guess I didn't know exactly how Dean Cain.
Oh, he's like religious right winger now, so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Anti-vax and all that stuff. So, him and Kevin Sorbo are doing that, like, the Predator handshake thing.
What?
Dutch and fucking God damn it, I can't remember his fucking name. The arm slap, like, fucking muscle handshake or whatever.
Oh,
in Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger and I forget the actor's name, Carl Weathers. Like, they kind of do this weird handshake where, like, their biceps are touching, and it's like a meme where it's like where like two non-connected things come together for a common purpose, and like the whatever the common purpose is written on their arms, and so like yeah, that's what I mean.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't know Dean Cain was a fucking asshole because it seems like he was, because they talked to the guy that played Jimmy in the first season before he got fired. He talked about why he got fired, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got fired because I look too much like Dean Cain." And it was like, I don't get that from the show, but I can see why that happened, because it's probably Dean Cain was like, "That guy's getting too much attention. We can't have him getting attention," or some fucking shit. So I was like, "Oh, that makes total sense now. That's totally what went on," which it sounds like it probably fucking did, because Terry Hatcher is not a good person, and neither is fucking Dean Cain, because they're all fucking shitty actors and actresses and stuff like that. Not that that guy was gonna like skyrocket to fame off that, but he, you know, probably would have done slightly better in life with having a solid role for 4 years or whatever. So
He got his paycheck.
oh, I know. It's not that he did.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast talking about. I was listening to Action Boys, and they were talking about Superman. I realized like I've never actually like sat down and watched Superman. And, like it was on all the time as a kid, so I've seen bits and pieces of like I've probably seen more of the one with crap, who's the comedian? Crap.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I suddenly blanking?
I'm blanking too because I can see him. What's that guy's name? I don't know. Why is it?
Superman 3.
Richard
Richard Pryor, yeah.
Yeah.
I've probably seen that one more than I've seen like the first Superman movie or the second. Well, I remember some of the second one because the Zod fights and all that stuff. But like, I've actually never, because remember I was telling you how like I picked that one movie because like there's just a giant hole for me in the all of Gene Hackman's work. So like I never saw him as Lex Luthor in Superman movie because I've never actually just sat down and watched it before. But that was kind of because that was actually like one of the actual like first successful blockbuster superhero movies. And like in the podcast they have a bunch of interesting stuff they talk about where it's like how the movie kind of got accidentally made. It was kind of made by a bunch of con men. Well, I mean, it's like how they did it. It's kind of a con, but it's actually like, oh, that's clever too, but it's also kind of a con. They essentially got the rights from Warner Brothers to like produce the movie themselves, but Warner Brothers wasn't going to put up the money. So they did have some money, and they get Mario Puzo, fresh off of winning another Oscar for Godfather Part 2, to write the Superman script. It was fucking awful, but like they had his name on a script, and they're like going around and they pick up Brando, and then suddenly they just have all these names attached to the Superman movie, and they just like kept picking up all this money, and they didn't actually have like a shooting script, but they have all these people attached to it, and the movie just kind of like made itself, and eventually they didn't actually have enough money to make the movie, and then Warner Brothers kicked in the rest, and then the movie got made.
Oh wow.
But like the Puzo script never actually gets used. Like somebody else writes it eventually. But like, yeah, they said the Puzo script was garbage. It was like 60s Batman. What do you call
level
that?
of shit cheesiness.
Yeah, cheesy. It was super cheesy. So
That's what I expect from somebody that wrote serious gangster movies. I mean, not that I mean the second one's not bad, but it's not. The first one's the best one. But at the same time, it's like I didn't expect. You think serious and dark would be more of his thing. I mean, not that like Godfather's like gore and a bunch of other stuff, but it's like it's not bad. So,
I mean, they gave him a paycheck to have his name on it, and that just kind of they didn't actually use it. But and I forget who they had a different director attached at first, but then like he couldn't leave the country for like weird tax purposes, and so Richard Donner picked it up.
Good old Richard Donner. Yeah, I put something funny on Facebook about that movie because it had the evil guys, very famous actor. What's that name?
What, Gene Hackman or
no, Terrence Stamp.
Oh yeah, he plays
General
Zod.
mod and all
Yeah.
his people, and I put something up because I had a picture of the three of them standing there, and it's like, what 80s rock band is this? You know, it's just like silly stuff like that. I remember that not being good. That was a good movie.
Yeah, well, the way they talked about it, they were surprised at how much they really liked it. They say it's a very earnest superhero movie. So that's what they really liked about it. It's like, oh yeah, this isn't like meta garbage and it's not like cheesy. It's just pretty straightforward. And it's like, oh yeah, this is the essence of Superman, where he's just a very powerful being who is trying to do his best to save humanity from itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say, and then they say Brando is amazing in it. It's like, okay, he got paid like he got paid like $20 million to be in the movie for like 6 minutes, but like, hey, his name got the movie made, so they got their money's worth.
No, that was because I remember like between him and Hackman, it's like, oh, there's just some amazing actors in this movie. And I'm trying to remember what I don't know if I like the. I don't know. When did it start to go bad? Like Superman 3 with the one with Richard Pryor.
Yeah, Superman 3.
And
I mean, the worst one was like 4, where like it was a quest for the sun, where they have him fight like a super Russian, and he's like throwing nuclear bombs into the sun. Like that was the really bad one.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that one.
That one was like shot in the cheap too. So.
Oh, okay. Just
Aren't they all?
Well,
the rule with 80 sequels was each one has to cost.
Yeah, it was more with there was like in the 70s, but yeah, it was like, because I know it's what they did, what Fox did with the Planet of the Apes movies, is that for every subsequent sequel they just cut the budget in half, because back then sequels didn't make more money than the originals, where now that's inversed. So
where they filmed 3 movies at once or 2 at once, or.
Well, yeah, that's I also haven't gotten to that too, but that's what they did with the Superman movie, because basically Richard Donner shot the second movie, but it kind of got taken away from him. But like they basically shot 2 of those movies back to back.
Yeah, I do remember that, because a lot of the sets looked exactly the same.
Yeah,
especially the Superman stuff. It was like, oh, that's his home planet, and that's the same set.
But yeah, it's also crazy, kind of the wide variety that Richard Donner has. Like, I'm going to do Superman, and then I'm going to do Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. Then I'm going to be banned from movies. Because wasn't he like spying on people or something?
Not that. Well, he could have, but that was a McTiernan. That was McTiernan. That was spying on people.
John McTiernan.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to just say bad things about Richard Donner if they're not true.
What Lethal Weapon movie did he direct? The first one?
Well, I think maybe the first 2, I think. But he definitely did the first one.
I mean, not that the movie necessarily holds up as a whole concept over, for the first one, but like it's definitely a good movie. The first 2 are definitely better than the third one.
Well, Richard Donner died this year.
Sad loss.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They mentioned that on the podcast. Yeah.
He he was 91, died of a pulmonary embolism.
Yeah.
Sounds about right for 91. Surprised anybody in this country lives to 90 anymore anyway. I mean, there's a lot of medical advancements and ways to keep people alive, but if you're rich, you seem to live longer anyway, but goddamn.
He was rich.
Yeah, he also made a Western with Mel Gibson that I watched like recently. It was the one where they're card players.
Yep.
Maverick?
Yeah,
Maverick,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is when you were allowed to like Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
like, you're happy to see him. It's like, oh, good, Mel Gibson's. It's gonna be
that's a fun movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last movie I saw was that 13 Blocks movie, which was fine, but it wasn't great.
Oh, I remember he made that Timeline disaster, and I thought he was forever.
Yeah.
Because that's a good book, but a terrible movie.
Oh yeah. Let's have Gerard Butler and the guy from Fast and Furious, Paul Walker. We're scientists. No, you're not.
Yeah, not political scientists.
Same thing like Keanu Reeves is a scientist.
Or like Denise Richards. It's like, I'm a nuclear physicist. No, you're not.
You can dream though.
From like James Bond, wasn't it?
Yeah. Christmas Jones, I think was her name.
Oh yeah, God, that was she's.
Well, it was just weird because the woman was so beautiful. It's like this. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You would never work that hard. You wouldn't have to.
Well, it's also like the way they have her costumed up. It's like, oh, she spent her entire morning to like, how big can I make these boobs look? And it's like, you're a nuclear physicist. You wouldn't bother with that garbage.
Yeah.
I need to pick up a man at work.
How can I wear are tight leather pants good for deconstructing nuclear warheads? Yes. You are the tightest leather pants you can find. I always love the names of the women in James Bond. I remember Moonraker, which is one of my guilty pleasure James Bond movies. Is that Dr. Goodhead? A movie called Octopussy. It's like, oh, this is amazing. And that's when James Bond was fun. Now it's all like dark and serious. And I remember when it was just goofy.
I mean, I have nothing wrong with serious James Bond. Like, I actually prefer that over Goofy, but at the same time, I can see why it was popular.
Yeah, I mean, I just like.
I almost don't like any of the more Bond movies. Like, they're just too goofy. But
it came from like we had Leesenby and then Connery. The Connery ones were.
I love he's my favorite Bond. I know people hate those movies because they are too dark, and they are because they're rated R Bond movies. But I loved, because Timothy Dalton, he's my favorite Bond because he's like that actor is meant to play villains, and it's a villainous Bond role. It's fucking great. And also just The Living Daylights is a great action movie.
Yeah, so because we had the Connery era, which I don't know how. Yeah, it managed to stabilize, but it got goofier as it went along.
Yeah.
And then Roger Moore, it was fun, but it was just silly. And then and he hung on like 2 movies too long. It's like, oh, come on, Grandpa, are you gonna chase someone in a rocker? What are we doing here? And even though I did like the Christopher Walken performance in Living Daylights,
or View to Kill.
Or View to Kill, yeah. And then we had Dalton, which he only got like 2 good outings.
Yeah, it was only 2. It was Living Daylights and License to Kill. That was
and License to Kill was amazingly violent and
cruel. It
wasn't a great movie.
No.
And then we had
you got a young Benicio del Toro getting thrown into a cocaine grinder, so and you got that scene.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're gonna smuggle gas, or we're gonna smuggle cocaine in the gas trucks. They'll never know because it's permeated in the gasoline. You have to separate it. It's like, oh, that'd be a nightmare if that could work.
And then Bond hits the ramp with the whole truck and to avoid a rocket launcher. It's like, all right, that's stupid, but it's fun.
And then you had the Pierce Brosnan era of, Russia's falling apart and how long can we milk that story? And those got good, but then they became almost like overproduced musicals of, it's like, oh, this is dumb. We're fighting in the Ice Palace. But then some of those Pierce Brosnan ones were good.
Well, it's pretty much the first one. It's GoldenEye, and that's pretty much downhill from there. But GoldenEye's great. GoldenEye's fantastic.
The one what's the one where he's dealing with a lady who owns the oil company in Kazakhstan, and the guy has the injury where he can't feel pain.
Oh, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, that had some interesting components to it.
That strangely is the Bond movie I've seen the most, only because we had it on VHS, and that was one of the only things VHS we had to watch in the house. So I don't know why I've seen that one the most. I don't need to have seen it the most, but that's probably the one I've seen the most. And it's not a good movie. It is pretty fucking shit.
Yeah, it's not great, but it had some interesting components to it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I like Casino Royale. I was like, oh, this is a new approach. But then everything after.
You know what the craziest thing is like both Casino Royale and GoldenEye are the same director.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, they basically let that guy direct like if there's a new Bond movie, they let him direct. I'm not sure if he directed Living Daylights, but he did direct Casino Royale and Goldeneye. So
Okay, well that makes sense because GoldenEye is one of the better movies.
yeah.
But yeah, then after that, I watched all the other ones. And
Oh yeah, Quantum of Solace was awful, and then I appreciate Skyfall, but I didn't like it. But it actually did a lot more like personal wise with the Bond than any other movie had ever done, except for like maybe Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is like a big downer and actually like moved Bond character forward and then like get rid of the guy. But
yeah, Skyfall had some cool stuff, but it went on way too long.
yeah,
Like it was like, what was that, 2.5 hours?
yeah.
It was a long one, and then Quantum of Solace was like I knew what they were trying to do, but they never pulled it off.
No, it was just garbage. And then I never saw Spectre, so I didn't hear great things, so I just didn't bother.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was
Totally
okay.
serviceable. And then the new one's No Time to Die, which will be the last one with this guy, because he's
Daniel
Again?
Craig.
Well, I mean, it's like I'm not doing this anymore. How does $25 million sound? Great. Okay, I'm doing this again, but we're going to have plenty of side characters that are basically going to fill out the story. Because I'm like too old to be jumping out of helicopters and shit. No one's going to believe this.
I'm not Tom Cruise. Give me a dramatic role.
The only guy that can do this into his 60s is Tom Cruise.
And no one wants him as James Bond, I don't think.
Oh, that'd be weird.
No, Mission Impossible is his James Bond. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
worry
No,
about
I
it.
know.
He has his own.
He's Ethan Hunt, motherfucker. Who's gonna be the next Ethan Hunt? It's Daniel Craig. It's like, oh god damn it. Oh, it'll just be Jason Statham.
I always like it when Jason Statham's like, "I'm a guy from Texas." It's like, but you're not. You get this Cockney accent that you don't even try. It's just like,
Yeah, it's just it should be him and Gerard Butler in a buddy cop movie where they play two Americans from the East Coast and West Coast, and they're both wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jason Statham can't just be in British movies, but at the same time, he doesn't do a very good job of being American or pretending to be American. Probably the most movies I've enjoyed with him in it is pretty much like friggin' Snatch and Transporter. Pretty much like the only movies I've actually thought he was actually good in, or actually Crank too. Sorry, like
Yeah,
that was just
those
because of
movies
how
are
ludicrous it was.
those movies are amazing.
But other than that, like anything else I've seen, including the new Wrath of Man movie, pretty fucking terrible. Like everything's always been some generic, shitty fucking action movie he's in.
Yeah,
And it's
but
like-
he's got like because they used to have people like Steven Seagal and Van Damme, like they'd be like these kind of B-level actioners, and kind of like Jason Statham is the last of like the B-level actioner guys.
he's really good in Snatch, though.
Yeah.
And so is
No.
Brad Pitt. I rewatched that recently. It's like, how are we going to get Brad Pitt into this movie? Just give him indecipherable dialogue. It's the only way this is going to work. That's when I thought Guy Ritchie was like, oh, this guy's going to be the next big thing. I mean, these movies are amazing, and that never happened.
He married Madonna and went insane.
I don't know. I mean, you can just tell the same story so many times before people are like, okay. All right. Well, we're up against the clock. So
All right,
this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
this is Scotland.